Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome. This is the final exam review edition, part 1. Welcome to the show. Now, your final exam will be released next Wednesday. Okay? And on that day, when it is released, you get to take the final exam. I'll be going over the final exam right now. Okay, so the first part of the exam I want to go over and just kind of go over things that you might see. All right, here we go. Which crime is a misdemeanor? One, I think that we all know what a misdemeanor is. It's a lesser crime, right? So when you look at this, you know, you get huge crimes: murder, burglary, kidnapping, all felonies. And so it has to be littering. Why? Because a misdemeanor is a non-indictable offense regarded in the United States as less serious than a felony. That should be so easy for you, okay? All right, one more right here. Let's go ahead. What are the 3 levels of federal courts in the United States? Now, I remember this like this: SAD, Supreme Appeals District. Okay, so there's only 3 levels in the United States at the federal level. Now, at the state level, there's more. But we're looking here, we're looking for SAD in one way or the other, right? So A, District, Appeals, and Supreme. All right, Supreme being the top, Appeals being the next one down, District being the very bottom. And if you see here, you can see how many there are. Right? The United States Supreme Court, there's only one court. U.S. Court of Appeals, we have 13 circuits, 12 regional, and 1 for the federal court. And then the United States District Courts, 94 districts. Okay, so that's how the federal court system is set up. All right, next question. Which case extended the 14th Amendment's guarantee of equal protection under the law? So you look at these things, okay, and we went over court cases earlier this year. There's really only one answer that even pops out. Tinker versus Des Moines was about school kids who were wearing armbands. You know, Engel versus Vitale was school prayer. Plessy versus Ferguson was the first, it was separate is equal. And then the right answer is Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, which happens to be during the Civil Rights Movement. Brown versus Board overturned the doctrine of separate is equal. Brown versus Board of Education is synonymous with separate is not equal. Remember, Brown versus Board ended segregation in schools. Okay? The 14th Amendment says everyone who is a citizen of the United States has equal protection under the law, meaning that equality is guaranteed under the 14th Amendment. A lot of people make a lot of arguments behind the 14th Amendment. Okay? All right. Which best explains the concept of scarcity? So this is something we just recently talked about. So scarcity is kind of just not having, you have limited resources. So the answer here is A, unlimited wants, but limited resources. Scarcity is when you don't have enough of something. So scarcity is the limited availability of a commodity or a product, which may be in demand in the market. Okay? Things are scarce. All right? A gas shortage would mean that gas is scarce at the moment. Okay? All right, next one. Police officers investigate local crimes and may arrest those accused of breaking local laws. Which agency has a similar role in the national level? So we can think about, oh, and this just popped up there. Where's my transitions? Hey, that's just terrible. All right, so obviously the answer is FBI. So the Federal Bureau of Investigation is the domestic intelligence and security service of the United States. And it's the principal federal law enforcement agency. The FBI is the police of the national government. Okay? Not that hard to understand. I think you could probably get it confused possibly with the CIA, but they actually do different things. They're more like a international and local domestic intelligence agency. They're gathering information, not necessarily investigating. All right. Which national officials are elected exclusively by voters? So our options here: senators and representatives, justices, cabinet members, president, and the vice president. We know the president is elected by voters. But is the vice president elected by voters? No. The vice president is chosen by the president. Cabinet members are chosen by the president. Supreme Court justices are chosen by the president. So it has to be A, senators and representatives. Okay? So justices, cabinet members, and the vice president are all appointed by the president. That's a pretty easy one. All right, how does the Electoral College limit the power, the voting power of citizens? This is pretty interesting because we've seen this happen in your lifetime. I've seen it happen twice in my lifetime, so in 2000 and 2016. So the Electoral College is a system based on representatives in the state. So how many senators and representatives you have, not the number of people. So here we go. The answer is A. Because of the Electoral College, sometimes a president can be elected without winning the popular vote. That happened in 2016. Trump didn't have the popular vote, but he won the Electoral College. And it happened in 2000. All right, Bush won the electoral vote, but didn't win the popular vote. Al Gore did. So, the Electoral College is a system based on the number of members of Congress in a particular state, not the amount of people voting in each state. This is a limit on people, okay? It's kind of like a restriction almost. I mean, people can play the system, win the Electoral College, but more people can vote for the other person. A lot of people don't think that's fair, but that is the system that we have. Okay, next question. Which action is a civic responsibility? So, differences here. Again, my transition didn't work, so that's not good. I have something in my eye. So, which action is a civic responsibility? Voting in national elections. Do you have to do that? No. Nobody's making you vote. We don't have mandatory voting. Now, do you have to register for the draft when you're 18? Yes. Do you have to serve jury duty if you're called? Yes. Do you have to obey the laws?
Well, obviously.
Yes. So those things are things that we have to do. Those are civic duties, B, C, and D. Something that we should do is voting. So that's our only true option there. Voting is not mandatory as a citizen. It is something you should do, not something you must do, even though I spelled not wrong. I thought you proofread this, Brian.
I'm not good at typing.
Moving on. The United States has which type of political party system? Ooh, this is an easy one. So, two-party system. Even though you might see more than two parties on your ballot, only two have a serious chance of winning the highest office in the United States, which is the presidency. And so that actually is the only thing that matters. Okay, we have tons of parties in the United States, but only two of them have real shots at actually winning. So we are a two-party system. It kind of stinks, you know, that it's just two options that we have, but you know, that's what we have right now as that. All right. Which action is protected by the Bill of Rights? Writing a letter of complaint to a mayor. Yelling fire in a crowded movie theater is considered inciting a riot. You can't, that's not free speech. Free speech is, you get to talk, you get to voice your opinion, you get to do all that kind of stuff, but you cannot disturb the peace. Okay? Carrying an unregistered handgun is going against government regulations. It's not necessarily that you can't carry the handgun. It's because it's unregistered. All right, so that's not protected under the Second Amendment because you're going against the regulations of the government. And prayer in school is going against the Establishment Clause. And the Establishment Clause is pretty simple. The United States government should not and will not establish an official religion. Okay? So that's pretty simple. Writing a letter of complaint to a mayor, you can voice your opinion. That's free speech right there. That's the example. And that happens to be amendment number 1. All right, which event convinced many United States citizens that a constitutional convention was needed? Now, this is something that Edgenuity taught you, not me. So hopefully you remember. But it's Daniel Shays' Rebellion. So a bunch of farmers, all right, in Massachusetts got together and basically said, we're not paying these taxes that the state is putting on us or anything like that. And they got together and they had a rebellion. And they couldn't be squashed because the federal government didn't have any power. Okay, we were under this thing called the Articles of Confederation. And the Articles of Confederation are classically known to be weak because they didn't have an army. Okay, so Shays' Rebellion was an armed uprising in Massachusetts in response to a debt crisis among the citizenry, farmers, and in opposition to the state government's increased effort to collect taxes, both on individuals and their trades. They needed a federal government that could squash the rebellion. And under the Articles of Confederation, they couldn't do it. So they got together, had a constitutional convention, and then at the end of that, what comes? A constitution. It called for a stronger central government. Okay. How does the United States Constitution conform to John Locke's social contract theory? All right, so John Locke kind of comes up with this idea of social contract, and it is that citizens transfer some rights to the government in exchange for a social order. Nobody's signing anything here. You are just, if you're an American citizen, you are a part of the social contract. You have given up some of your rights in order for the government to protect you. Okay? It's a little trade-off. All right, a libertarian who doesn't want government involvement in anything would say, okay, that's too much. But this is how we've done what we've done. Okay, we've given up some of our rights to create social order in order to continue on the path that we've been on, for 270 plus years. So in order to protect its citizens, the government needs the people to give up some of their rights. All right, next question. Some Declaration of Independence stuff. Pretty easy. But what a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces and designed to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. That is a mouthful. I wasn't ready to read that. That's an excerpt from the Declaration of Independence. According to this excerpt, what condition is sufficient cause for people to form a new government? So, the Declaration of Independence is just the world's greatest breakup letter. Okay? It was a breakup letter that said stuff like this. Stop talking for me. All right? Whenever it's my turn to talk, I want to be heard. And every single time that that's happened so far, I'm not heard. That's something that the colonists were thinking, okay? You know, it's not you, it's me. That's what they were thinking. They were like, okay, we can't deal with this. We need to work on ourselves a little bit, okay? I think we need to, you know, take some time and figure out who we are. That's pretty much what the Declaration of Independence was saying. It's a breakup letter. So, according to this excerpt, what is appropriate conditions to overthrow a government? Government becomes oppressive to its citizens. That's easy. The Declaration of Independence lists grievances that the colonists had with the King of England after they had been second-class citizens for such a long period of time. There are so many things that caused the Declaration of Independence to be written, but truly it's just a breakup letter. That's all it was. Right? No government was set up or anything like that. It was basically saying, look, we're tired of being treated like this, and so we're going to split off from you and create our own thing. Focus on us for a little bit. All right, well, economics question. How would a retailer in a market economy most likely react to the high demand from consumers for a scarce product? Simple. Increase the price of the product. If there's high demand and not a whole lot of that product, you're probably going to be able to sell it for quite a bit. All right? So this is just a graph here of how this possibly works. But you can see that, let's see, supply exceeds demand, demand exceeds supply. It's hard to see up here. Maybe I can do it right here and right here. But there are certain rules when something becomes scarce and the demand is high, then you can increase the price of the product. All right. Why do responsible consumers use credit or credit cards? This is a great question because, I don't know, some people abuse credit cards. So you might be told, don't get a credit card, use your own money, blah, blah, blah. If you don't use a credit card and make on-time payments, you're not going to be able to buy a house, you're not going to be able to buy a car, or I don't want to say that, get a loan for a house or a car. So to establish a good credit score for getting a loan. So to establish a good credit score for getting a loan, what is that? Money lenders don't just give money to anybody. You can't go to a bank, never have paid something off or made payments on something. You can't go to a bank and say, hey, I'd like a loan for $250,000 to buy this house. They're going to say, okay, we're going to run your credit report. And you're going to say, oh, I've never had a credit card. And they'll say, well, you're not going to have a house either. Because you have to establish the fact that you have made payments on time and paid things off in order for money lenders, aka banks or credit unions, to give you money. So you have to get a credit card. You have to build credit. Make your payments on time. Get your credit score up, and then go see what you can. I mean, you can probably get a loan for a house. You know, at age 20, 21, you get a credit card at 18 and start paying it off monthly. You could definitely have a good enough credit score to enter into that world. I don't know if you want a mortgage at 20, 21, but all right. We're done for today. On Thursday, we will finish off the final exam review part 2. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. I will post this on YouTube and then also post it on Canvas. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you for coming to my Zoom today. Hit me with that theme song, and I'll stay here and answer questions